more severe storms, more famine and floods, new waves of refugees, coastlines that vanish, oceans that rise. This is the future we must avert. This is the global threat of our time. And for the sake of future generations, our generation must move toward a global compact to confront a changing climate before it is too late.
You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show. Joining us now, well, a man who hails from the great state of Kentucky, which is known for, well, of course, beautiful sawgrass, the Derby, and coal. And coal is under assault today by this president at Georgetown University, his big speech on climate change, and we find out that one of his top advisors said a war on coal is exactly what's necessary. Senator Rand Paul from the great state of Kentucky. Senator Paul, how are you, sir?
Hey, Laura. I think that's why in my state, 40% of Democrats in the Democrat primary voted uncommitted or undecided last time.
I mean, of all the things to focus on, given what we're seeing with Russia, China, the NSA, even immigration, I mean, the president decides to do this big feverino on how we need to rein in these out of control, apparently these coal plants. Last time I checked, they're already under assault by the EPA.
They have been, and we're really struggling in Kentucky. We have laid off hundreds of workers. We have thousands of workers at risk, and it really is a problem for us. And the interesting thing is, if you look at emissions from coal plants, they've been going down for 40 years. We have actually done a pretty good job at controlling emissions, even from coal plants.
Senator Paul, the president has made it clear that he insists that an immigration bill be completed, be done. He supports what the Senate did yesterday. 15 of your fellow senators voted to end debate on this 1,190-page bill. Yesterday, John Hoeven and Bob Corker, who are apparently the last-minute saviors for the Democrats, they both said, y'all are complaining about nothing. Y'all have had since May to read the bulk of this, and that their amendment was only about 100 pages, and when you do it in book type, it's really only about 25, 30 pages, sir.
Well, when you stick it in 1,100 pages and you have one day to read it, I would venture to say no one read it. And what I would say also is that probably what we should have up here is that you have to sign a statement saying you've read every word of it. That would make the bill shorter and it would slow things down a bit. But no, in this bill, the interesting thing is they added $1.5 billion for some kind of youth Job Corps program, and then they also added in language that allows the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security to veto the fence. So basically, the fence was supposed to be $1.5 billion worth of fence. The Secretary can veto that if she says the border is secure. The Obama administration already believed the border is secure, so they can veto the fence anytime they want. That's what they call border security.
John Hoeven yesterday, and he came on our program last week and tried to, he made this valiant attempt to defend what they were doing. He said, you guys are just spinning a bunch of myths. He went up on the Senate floor yesterday, and I don't need to play the soundbite, but he said, look, there is a real trigger in here, and it states that there's 700 miles of this fence needs to be built before people get green cards. So he said the language is clear. He was really upset yesterday.
Well, it also says unless the Secretary decides that the border is secure, then the fence doesn't have to be built. Really, the trigger is not the fence being built. The trigger is still a plan to build a fence unless the Secretary says the border is already secure. The real problem here, though, is he's also talking about green cards. My amendment would have said that Congress votes on the border being secure before any documentation occurs, not green cards, work visas. Before we give any kind of provisional work visas, that the border would have to be voted on, and it would have to be voted that Congress says the border is secure. And I would have had those votes each year for 5 years, but they voted me down. That would have been a true addition to the bill.
No, you got voted down at every turn here. I mean, your common sense amendment, Cornyn's common sense amendment, which frankly I thought was kind of weak, but even that got voted down. Obviously, all this stuff that Sessions and Grassley put forth, that got voted down. The Cruz amendments, those got nailed. So of all these amendments that were offered during the Gang of Eight process, there were only a handful that were agreed to, and most of them were, very wishy-washy. So there's no real teeth in this.
The bottom line is our only hope is that Speaker Boehner will stand strong and will not allow something to come out of the House that is not a good bill. He has the power to do it, but what could happen is what comes out of the House is voted by 30 or 40 Republicans and 180 Democrats.
No. Can't. I'm sorry. Bill Kristol and I were just talking about this. There cannot be a conference, and I think you and I talked about this before. If there is a conference, it's done. There has to be no capitulation, no conference. Once they conference with that Senate monstrosity, it's over, because then you can just the Democrats can vote it in, and we can get like 10 Republicans or 25 Republicans.
My understanding of the way the conference is I believe it's not the whole conference. It's each conference votes separately. The House has to be a majority to let the bill come out of the House as well as the Senate or go back to the House. I don't believe it's the whole conference committee, but I would be concerned that the Republican conferees in the Senate will be people who supported the Democrat bill, and that's going to be a problem.
No. Well, Senator Paul, I mean, of all the things we have to focus on, I mean, this stepping right into this trap and all the time we've wasted on this immigration bill, when we find out in the 11th hour that now employers under the bill have an incentive to fire U.S. workers and hire foreign-born workers who are amnestied under this bill, because now those people can work full-time, Senator Paul, and yet the companies don't have to pay for their Obamacare, because they're not allowed to get Obamacare under the terms of this. So the companies have an absolute incentive to can the American workers and the legal citizens who are here, legal residents, and hire the newly amnestied people. So that just came out today, in addition to all the other sweeteners in this bill.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time that something happened that they said they didn't intend to have happen. The only argument I would say, though, is that I think we should do something, because if not, we're going to get another 10 million who come in over the next decade.
Enforce the laws.
Yeah, well, we need to do that, but I also, part of preventing illegal immigration is to make legal immigration and the work visa program work. People are coming in to pick crops. Let's bring them in under a work visa program, not illegally.
Yeah, well, I think the Republicans, and the reason you've made one of the reasons you've made such a splash is because people believe that you have a better handle, Senator Paul, on what is facing the middle class in this country and people struggling. Republicans have become really, really out of touch. I'm sorry, but a lot of them have, with what's happening in regular America, the middle America. And when people think, gosh, these people are doing stuff that are going to lower my wages, it's going to incentivize employers to fire me, and it's going to absolutely increase unemployment in the country. We're going to have 43 million new people in here over the next 25, 30 years. Why should I vote for those people? I might as well just vote for the Democrats at this point. At least they're going to give me more benefits. But these Republicans, they don't seem to get what my problems are. They're focusing on this amnestying of all these people. So I'm hearing it from my listeners.
One of the interesting things you see when you look at the border, and Congressman Bishop from Utah pointed this out in some pictures recently, is that where the land is owned federally is where most of the problem is, and that the Secretary of the Interior has the ability to have exemptions for fence. So he showed these dramatic pictures of, here's the fence, and then there's a big wide opening, and why is it there? Because the Secretary of Interior wants the deer to be able to cross there. But guess what? The deer cross, and so do the illegal aliens.
No, you can say, Senator, the deer illegal aliens cross. They're deer, and they're deer illegal aliens. They cross the border. We're talking to Rand Paul from the great state of Kentucky. Senator Paul, lots of conversation we've had over the last several months on this broadcast, and I'm going to continue it on Fox this week, hosting for O'Reilly, about the direction the Republican Party is taking. A lot of us are concerned that the more neoconservative approach to policy has gotten the party into a lot of trouble. Unpopular wars, foreign entanglements, when our country is really suffering, and we see the results of some of this with this Syria policy today. If you could be running the Republican policy shop for a day, what would our approach to let's say foreign affairs be today under President Paul?
You know, I'm a fan of Reagan's. I believe in peace through strength, but not necessarily war through strength. Some of the neocons think that war is always the answer. I think we should be strong enough that no one will ever attack us. If anyone does attack us, we respond with overwhelming force. but we don't get involved in murky situations like Syria, where we will be giving arms to Islamic extremists, Islamic rebels, who are allied with al-Qaeda. That's one irony. The second irony is we will be arming Islamic rebels who in all likelihood will be eventually killing Christians, because Christians are allied with Assad on the other side. So I see no great solution there and no real friend to support.
Well, and yet we still see Senator McCain, Senator Graham, kibbutzing with President Obama. McCain went over to Syria. Clearly, he got the green light to go and make that trip to Syria, and then lo and behold, we find ourselves giving weapons to Islamic rebels who are now aided and abetted by Sunnis coming across the border from Egypt, who want to be part of this fight. So we just got rid of Saddam Hussein, the Sunni in Iraq, and now we're taking sides on another internal conflict in Syria.
Well, and it turns out, the New York Times reported over the weekend that the CIA has been involved with shipping arms out of Libya through Turkey into Syria for over a year now. I asked Hillary Clinton this question: are we involved with funneling arms, and did that have something to do with the attack of our ambassador and the killing of our ambassador? She acted like she'd never heard of it. It's been going on over a year. You think the Secretary of State has not heard of the CIA's involvement in what they were doing in Benghazi?
No, it's preposterous. The youth vote, African American vote, Latino vote. You have made it clear that if you're a candidate for the presidency and just moving forward, you believe there are many ways to reach those constituencies with a conservative message. First off, let's start with the all difficult to get black vote in the United States. What's your approach there?
I think a less aggressive foreign policy is number one. I think we should end federal mandatory minimums on sentencing for nonviolent crime, drug usage, marijuana usage. I think we should work to help the communities by improving education through school choice. I think we should also look at, and some of this may have to be done at the state legislative level, for giving property taxes for people who will redevelop areas with abandoned housing, who will bring factories into certain underdeveloped communities. And so I think there are a lot of things that we can do. I think also the libertarian idea that no one should be incarcerated without a trial rings very solidly in the African American community, because they can remember a time when justice wasn't directed in an appropriate way and people who had black skin were treated unfairly. Same with Asian Americans as well in our country. So ideas that we oppose indefinite detention of American citizens without a trial, these are issues that I think do and will resonate in the African American community.
Hey, Senator Paul, I have another one for you. You missed an opportunity. There's something you just did. You opposed a bill that would end up decreasing the wages of African Americans. You opposed a bill that would have ended up increasing unemployment in the black community. That's a huge one. I mean, I'm telling you that when I'm looking at this protest that's coming on July 15th, the Black American Leadership Council protest in Washington, it's all against this amnesty thing, because they think this is a big giveaway to people who are going to compete for jobs among their people. And so I think there's a burgeoning element in the black community that is against this amnesty, and you stood on that issue. I think that's a huge winner for Latino folks and black folks when they know what's in this bill. So I think that's an absolute winner.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that you'll find is that when you poll African American voters, you find they do agree with us even on a lot of traditionally socially conservative issues, but they aren't voting Republican because they think Republicans don't care about them. We don't show up in the community. We don't really engage. We don't show empathy towards problems and the plight of those trying to enter into the middle class. I think if we do, just by showing up, just by mentioning these issues, just by talking about fairness in the judicial system, I think a lot of these things, all of a sudden, we are going to be making the African-American vote come into play.
Yeah, well, listen. They'll actually listen. Maybe listen. Just have an open mind. And you've started that conversation, and I think it's really, really important. Senator Rand Paul, thank you so much for standing up for American workers in the middle class and sanity in this immigration process. We really appreciate it, and thanks for what you're doing out there.
Thank you, Laura.
All right, we'll take a break on the Laura Ingraham Show. We'll wrap it up. Remember, O'Reilly Factor tonight. Don't go away.